You need to hear this if you're a history enthusiast. Imagine stepping back in time 100 years. It's 1924. The world is recovering from a devastating war. The Spanish flu pandemic has just ended. People are eager for progress and change. This era, often called the Roaring Twenties, was a time of great transformation. This was a period marked by rapid industrialization, groundbreaking innovations, and significant social shifts. The automobile became increasingly common. Radio brought the world closer. New forms of music like jazz captivated the youth. Cities grew at an unprecedented rate. Yet life in 1924 was vastly different from our world today. It was a world without computers, smartphones, or the internet. Medical care was rudimentary compared to modern standards. Social inequalities were deeply entrenched, and many faced hardship and discrimination. This essay will explore the realities of life a century ago, highlighting the remarkable progress and the enduring challenges that shaped this pivotal period in human history. We will delve into the innovations, social norms, and everyday experiences that defined the 1920s, offering a glimpse into a world both familiar and strikingly different from our own. The 1920s witnessed an explosion of technological advancements that transformed daily life. The automobile, once a luxury, became increasingly accessible. Ford's Model T revolutionized personal transportation, making car ownership a reality for millions. This led to the development of better roads and infrastructure. Household appliances like electric refrigerators, washing machines, and vacuum cleaners began to appear in homes, easing domestic chores and freeing up time for other pursuits. The radio, a marvel of the age, brought news, music, and entertainment directly into homes, connecting people in ways never before imagined. Advancements in medicine, such as the development of insulin to treat diabetes and the discovery of penicillin, offered hope and extended lifespans. The world of communication was also evolving rapidly. The telephone became more widespread, shrinking distances and facilitating business and personal connections. These innovations not only improved the quality of life for many, but also fueled economic growth and societal change. They ushered in a new era of possibilities, inspiring a sense of optimism and progress that defined the spirit of the Roaring Twenties. The world was changing rapidly, and people were eager to embrace the future. While the 1920s brought remarkable progress, it was also a time of significant challenges and inequalities. Many people lived in poverty, particularly in urban slums and rural areas. Working conditions were often harsh, with long hours, low wages, and limited safety regulations. Child labor remained a serious problem, depriving children of education and exposing them to hazardous environments. Discrimination based on race, gender, and ethnicity was deeply ingrained in society, limiting opportunities and perpetuating injustice. Access to healthcare was limited, and many lacked basic sanitation and proper nutrition. Infectious diseases like tuberculosis and polio remained major threats, particularly in impoverished communities. The gap between the rich and the poor was vast, creating social tensions and unrest. Despite the era's advancements, many people struggled to survive. The prosperity of the Roaring Twenties was not shared equally, leaving many behind in poverty and hardship. It's essential to acknowledge these realities to gain a complete understanding of the period. While the 1920s saw advancements in communication and transportation, the world was still far more disconnected than it is today. Long-distance travel was primarily by train or ship, taking days or even weeks to reach distant destinations. Air travel was in its infancy, expensive, and not widely accessible. Communication relied heavily on letters and telegrams, with phone calls still a relative luxury for many. News traveled slowly, and access to information was limited compared to our instant access world of the internet and smartphones. Families were often separated by distance, and maintaining connections with loved ones living far away required patience and effort. The pace of life was slower, and people had to adapt to the limitations of communication and travel. This slower pace fostered a sense of community and local connection. People relied on their neighbors and local networks for support and information. While this created a sense of belonging, it also limited exposure to different cultures and perspectives. Section 5. The Evolution of Healthcare, Progress and Perils, a Century Ago. Healthcare in the 1920s was a mixed bag of progress and limitations. The discovery of insulin revolutionized diabetes treatment, offering a lifeline to those suffering from the disease. Penicillin, though not widely available until later, held promise for combating bacterial infections. However, many diseases remained untreatable. Surgical procedures were often risky, and pain management was rudimentary. Hospitals lacked the sophisticated equipment and sterile environments we take for granted today. Many people relied on home remedies and folk medicine, especially in rural areas where access to doctors was limited. Maternal and infant mortality rates were high, highlighting the challenges of childbirth and early childhood care in this era. The 1920s marked a turning point in medical science, setting the stage for future breakthroughs. Yet, for many, healthcare remained inadequate, highlighting the disparities in access and the ongoing struggle to conquer disease. Section 6. Homes and Housework, a glimpse into domestic life in the 1920s. Homes in the 1920s were simpler than modern residences. Central heating was becoming more common, but many homes still relied on fireplaces or coal-fired stoves for warmth. Electricity was spreading, but not all homes had access to it. Appliances like refrigerators and washing machines were gradually appearing, but most housework remained labor-intensive. Women bore the brunt of domestic chores, spending hours cleaning, cooking, and caring for children. Homes were often smaller, with families living in closer quarters. Multi-generational households were common, with grandparents, parents, and children sharing space. This fostered a sense of family unity, but also presented challenges in terms of privacy and personal space. The 1920s witnessed a gradual shift in domestic life as new technologies emerged. However, housework remained a demanding aspect of daily life, particularly for women who shouldered the majority of these responsibilities. Section 7. Changing Roles, Women and Society in the Roaring Twenties. The 1920s was a period of significant change for women's roles in society. The Roaring Twenties saw the emergence of the flapper, a symbol of female liberation and changing social norms. Women gained the right to vote in many countries, marking a major step towards equality. More women entered the workforce, taking on jobs in offices, factories, and schools. However, they often faced discrimination, lower wages, and limited opportunities for advancement compared to their male counterparts. Traditional gender roles were challenged as women sought greater independence and control over their lives. The rise of women's colleges and professional organizations provided opportunities for education and career development. The 1920s was a pivotal period for women's rights, laying the groundwork for future progress. However, traditional expectations and societal barriers continued to limit women's choices and opportunities, highlighting the ongoing struggle for gender equality. Section 8. The Seeds of Entertainment, Leisure and Recreation a Century Ago. The 1920s witnessed a boom in leisure and entertainment. Jazz music swept the nation, becoming the soundtrack of the era. Dance halls and nightclubs thrived, offering a space for social gatherings and revelry. Motion pictures became increasingly popular, providing a new form of escapism and entertainment. Sporting events, particularly baseball and boxing, drew large crowds, offering a sense of community and shared excitement. Radio broadcasts brought music, news, and entertainment directly into homes, changing the way people spent their leisure time. Board games and card games were popular forms of home entertainment, offering opportunities for family and social interaction. The 1920s marked a shift towards more commercialized forms of entertainment, laying the groundwork for the mass media and entertainment industries that would shape future generations. Leisure time became more structured and commodified, reflecting the changing pace and values of modern society. Section 9. A World on the Move Transportation in the Early 20th Century. Transportation in the 1920s was undergoing a rapid transformation. The automobile became increasingly commonplace, revolutionizing personal mobility and changing the landscape of cities and towns. Roads were improved to accommodate the growing number of vehicles. Trains remained a vital mode of long-distance travel, connecting communities across vast distances. However, air travel was still in its early stages, expensive, and not widely accessible. Bicycles were a popular form of personal transportation, particularly in urban areas. Public transportation, such as streetcars and buses, played a crucial role in urban areas, providing affordable mobility for those who couldn't afford cars. Horses and carriages were still used in some areas, particularly for local deliveries and transportation in rural communities. The 1920s witnessed a shift away from animal-powered transportation towards motorized vehicles, marking a turning point in mobility and setting the stage for the car-centric society we know today. This transformation had a profound impact on urban planning, infrastructure development, and the way people lived and worked. Section 10. Education and Opportunity, Access and Inequality in the 1920s. Education in the 1920s was undergoing significant changes. Public education became more widespread, with increasing numbers of children attending school. However, access to education was not equal, with disparities based on race, gender, and socioeconomic status. Segregation in schools remained a major issue, particularly in the southern United States, denying African American children equal opportunities for learning. Girls often faced limited educational pathways, steered towards domestic skills rather than higher education or professional careers. Higher education was becoming more accessible, but it remained largely a privilege for the wealthy. Colleges and universities were expanding, offering new fields of study and professional training. The 1920s marked a period of progress in education, but it also highlighted the persistent inequalities that limited opportunities for many. Access to quality education remained a challenge, particularly for marginalized communities, underscoring the need for greater equity and social change. Section 11. Bridging the Century, Reflections on Progress and Enduring Challenges. Looking back a century, the world of 1924 appears both remarkably different and strangely familiar. The technological advancements of the era laid the groundwork for the modern world, transforming communication, transportation, healthcare, and daily life. Yet the 1920s also reveal enduring challenges that continue to shape our world today. Social inequalities, economic disparities, and discrimination based on race, gender, and ethnicity persisted, limiting opportunities and perpetuating injustice. Access to healthcare and education remained unequal, highlighting the need for continued efforts to address these disparities. The world has made remarkable strides in the past century. We live longer, healthier lives. Technology has connected us in ways unimaginable a century ago. Opportunities for education and personal growth have expanded. However, the lessons of the 1920s remind us that progress is not always linear or evenly distributed. Enduring challenges require ongoing attention and a commitment to creating a more just and equitable world for all. As we navigate the complexities of the 21st century, understanding the triumphs and struggles of the past can guide us towards a better future.